Zoid, Groove and Gary, all good buddies in my convoy. And if you're ever out on the road, my handle is Frog Penis. It's a long, funny story I don't have time to get into. Anyway, is my CB radio safe from hackers?
CB is open, so anybody can get on it. But there's not a whole lot you can do with it unless it's connected to one of your networks internally, which is most likely not the case. Some people have actually done that. But if it's in your truck or your vehicle, then it's contained.
Roger that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Richard, sometimes I can be a real ratchet jaw on there. I'll be talking to Clawhumper, Buzzball, and Dr. Nathaniel Fernald, doing double nickels on the dime, saying, "Hey, Muskrat, what's your 20? Next thing you know, I got some mama bear on my donkey."
Okay, this is a cybersecurity expert. He doesn't work with CB radios. And I've told you before, not everyone understands CB radio lingo.
No, come on, Carolina. Quit acting like a lot lizard.
Okay, you told me that lot lizard is CB radio lingo for prostitute, and it is absolutely not okay to call me that. It also doesn't make any sense in this context.
10-4. That was out of line. I apologize.
Right.
Richard gets it, though.
10-4.
10-4. See? I'm just glad internet hackers can't mess with my CB radio. That's a relief. Yeah. But that is an open line of communication.
Absolutely.
So watch what you say. Okay. Or not.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get too political on this show, but as a cybersecurity expert, would you know how to set up something like stealing a presidential election?
In theory, yes.
Okay. What about an election to a co-op board? Because I'm having a real hard time with my condo, and I could use some help.
Well, maybe you should talk to the people. That might be a better approach.
Sure. Yeah, a legal approach.
Just saying.
Is this a money question? Because I don't mind kicking in some scratch, my friend.
No, that's
you can
okay.
Help me out. All right.
But thanks.
Condo board, if you're listening.
We've got a black hat in
Yeah,
the building.
I just bought myself a new black hat. There are times when I'm visiting certain websites. I'm going to get into this delicately. Let's just say of an erotic nature.
All right.
And all of a sudden, I'll get a million boxes popping up on my screen. One time I got so frustrated, I ended up throwing my computer out of the window of my den, and it landed on my neighbor's Passat, and she was pretty sore about it. Any solutions to that problem?
Yeah, get really strong tempered glass windows.
Mm-hmm. There.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. That's great.
That's a
Done.
Right.
That's a handy solution.
Yeah. But the other thing you can do also is, be careful when you go to the internet. Mm-hmm. There are certain applications you can download. They're called sandboxes, where they isolate the rest of your computer from where you're going on the internet. Some people use them for banking, but you could use them for the areas you were discussing as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's erotic art.
All right.
I look at.
Okay.
That's honestly
Looking at
erotic art.
Christie's auction house online leads to pop-ups.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, he appreciates beautiful things in life, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Christie's is spelled KRYSTYS.
That's not it. No.
XXX.
Okay.
Let's talk about the terms and conditions that we'll see. That we all have to sign when we go on to a certain thing. Now, I actually take the time to read every single word, and then I send it to my lawyer, and we go back and forth. He makes changes, and it takes forever, but I think it's worth it. In general, do you think people should be more careful with the terms and conditions on the internet?
Okay, so I would advise that people not waste their time with that, because basically all the internet providers are saying is, we might get your stuff and we're happy and thank you, and we might sell it. And that's the unfortunate part.
Oh, no.
Well, now there is rules in the European Union, and they might come our way, which affords all of us a bit more control of our own personal data.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my attorney charges me hourly. So when he's making all those changes and sending it back to the site, they're not listening. They're not taking any of it.
I think they're filing it in the oval file cabinet.
So you're saying it's a waste of time?
Yeah. However, as long as we're on this subject, the notices we get when we download apps, where they want access to your camera, they want access.
Location.
Those are the ones.
Say yes.
No, those are the ones you want to question. And if you have the ability, Because some of the apps won't work unless you say yes. Others might. And you can say, no, I just want to give you the access to what you need.
Well, then why are we using all this mumbo jumbo if all they want to do is collect our data?
Well, because it's convenient and it's fun, right? It's a trade-off.
It's a real trade-off. And now Alexa's listening to us.
Yeah. Not your girlfriend.
No, but the computer lady.
Yeah.
Richard, what's your first memory with a computer? You know, were you a little boy sitting in front of a computer and just saying, yep, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life, and I will lose my virginity or I won't. It doesn't matter. I love computers.
No, I learned when there were mainframes, before there were PCs.
Oh, what's a mainframe?
Mainframe's a big old computer taking up a huge space in a large room.
Okay.
Oh, like the IBM mainframes.
There you go.
Yes.
Right.
Do you remember the old computer Commodore?
Yes.
The Commodore...
It was 64.
Commodore 64.
You're right.
Those are coming back, right?
Oh, I don't think you would see those other than people with nostalgia just want to have them around.
And what do you think is past the iPhone? So what do you think is the next
Oh, that's a great
thing
question.
is it VR? What is the next?
Well, I don't know. I think at some point people will elect to have the chip implanted.
Oh my God.
Well, people are getting chips installed now to protect themselves from kidnapping and a variety of other things if they're political in the office in certain questionable countries.
Ron
so the
had
technology
a
is there. Oh, you had it.
I paid for a chip to be implanted.
Because he got lost one time.
Did it help?
Well, it turns out it was a $100 poker chip. So it did nothing.
Right.
The guy ripped me off.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
What
because
color?
now when you're lost, you're lost.
Well, also, too, it's horribly infected.
Yeah.
Remind me, note to self,
Okay.
Have poker chip removed
Poker chip removed from neck.
from neck. Thank you.
Got it.
Steve Jobs. Pretty cool guy, right?
Many people say yes. Some people say he was a little bit too intense and tough to work with.
He invented the Macintosh, the iPhone, but a lot of people don't know this. He invented Mr. Microphone. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
It was a toy microphone that you could hook up to your radio, and it would broadcast your voice. So very cool. Steve Jobs, a true pioneer.
I don't think Steve Jobs invented the Mr. Microphone.
Well, whoever did gets my utmost respect. The inventor of Mr. Microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you got started in this?
You know, well, I got started by just hanging around outside of news stations. And that was back in the day where you could just walk in and, you know, have a good head of hair and a firm handshake and get put on the air in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really changed. But thank you. Thank you for asking. Richard, have you ever invented anything?
No, just better ways to work more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
I brought up robots before, and I think you had some good insight to that. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Sex robots, how close are we?
I think they're there.
Whoa!
Yikes.
Well, I know where I can find them.
So maybe you don't need to get the tempered glass after all.
I'll just look them up on Christie's, the art auction website.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Richard, I think we are officially out of time. I'm officially out of questions here. I can't thank you enough for joining our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for
It was a pleasure. Thank
your
you so much.
expertise. Caroline, I'm going to give you the keys to my truck, and if you could pull it up front, that would be terrific. But
Got
don't
it.
touch my CB radio, okay? Do not get on there and open your mouth.
Okay.
You will be an embarrassment in front of my trucker buddies.
Got it.
Richard, thank you again for coming on the Ron Burgundy Podcast. I think you've informed a lot of people about how to be safe out there.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely don't forget, change
Yes.
that password.
Well, no, I've already got it. Burned in my brain.
Great. What is it?
Ron Burgundy is a super sexy guy or something like that.
No. Okay.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
figure it out later.
All right, we'll be right back with the Ron Burgundy Podcast after this. I want to tell you about a great app called Fair. That's F-A-I-R, a totally new way to get a car, all on your phone with the flexibility to turn it in anytime. That way, if you're driving something kind of bland, you can turn it in when you're ready and get something like a hot, snazzy sports car. Cherry red! The kind of car a divorced dad gets when he's going through a midlife crisis. If you're a divorced dad listening to this right now, or heck, even a lady who just left the shackles of a loveless marriage, now you can have a new set of wheels to compensate for the lack of love in your life, all through the push of a button on an app. With Fair, there's no long-term commitment. That way, when you realize you've made a terrible mistake and it's time to reconcile your broken marriage, you can just turn the car in and then get something more sensible, like a hatchback. No matter what you're driving, you'll get a limited warranty, routine maintenance, roadside assistance, even optional insurance if you want it. It's all bundled in your monthly payment. Fair. It's not just an easier way to get a car. It also might save your unhealthy relationship. And we are back. Ron Burgundy Podcast. Carolina.
Yeah.
Kept thinking what Richard said about the white hats and the black hats. I mean, what? Would you rather be a white hat or a black hat?
A white hat, of course. It's the person protecting our information, protecting our data.
But you're not intrigued a little bit?
About the dark internet?
Being a black hat? You'd have a lot of power, a lot of prestige.
No, that's sort of the question between good and evil, right?
Yeah.
So I want to be good. What do you want to be?
I want to be a white hat, too.
Okay, good. Okay.
You don't have to look at me like that.
I'm just curious.
No, I'm just saying, though. Black hat, huh?
No, white hat.
Okay. Yes, I want to be a white hat, too.
Okay.
I wonder if they're gray hats, though.
Or sort of...
Like a charcoal gray hat.
Beautiful.
Yes. Felt.
A feather in it.
A feather in it. It's like, is he or she good or bad?
Right.
Well, the charcoal gray hat. You don't know.
Well, I can put that on the list of potential screenplays that you asked me to keep.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, let's get an outline going on that.
Got it.
Because I'm going to start writing Hollywood movies.
I know.
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
I know.
For this new season.
The gray hat.
And at some point, we will have a staged reading on the podcast of my manuscript that I've written. And I can't wait for that. We are going to do that, by the way. One other thing about Richard, I mean, boy, he was not happy when I asked him if I could call him Dick, and he said the last time I called, I mean, that was
spooky.
That was aggressive.
Last time anyone called me Dick, they were in a terrible accident.
And did you notice? I didn't notice it until the end of the interview. But he, in his right hand, he put his hand on top of the table.
Okay.
And he had brass knuckles.
Oh, my God. What does that mean? I mean... He
had old-fashioned brass knuckles.
Why would he? He's a cybersecurity.
I know. Makes no sense.
Wow. Well, he might be a killer.
We don't know that. We can't
say that on air. You're right.
However, I did know if he were to leap across the table and try to punch me with the brass knuckles, I was going to cushion the blow with your face.
Well, I don't understand. Why?
But isn't that great? I was already thinking ahead of time that I would use you as a human shield.
No,
to protect
because
myself.
I would have gotten pummeled and you would have been fine.
But that's why I respect you so much. Your selfless white hat attitude prevails.
I don't know if that's what I meant when I said I want to be a white hat.
So are you thinking you want to be a black hat now?
I don't want to go down for a black hat.
Luke, I'm your father.
Exactly.
You remember what that was from?
Star Wars.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was Star Wars or Raiders of the Lost Ark. Doesn't matter. Let's follow up with Richard, though, and see if he really can get me some Quaaludes. Okay. Well, we'll catch you next Thursday on the Ron Burgundy Podcast. This is Ron Burgundy saying, until next time, don't be a black hat. The Ron Burgundy Podcast is a production of iHeart Radio and Funny or Die. I'm Ron Burgundy, the host, writer, and executive producer. Carolina Barlow is my co-host, writer, and producer. Our producers are Jack O'Brien, Nick Stumpf, Miles Gray, and Whitney Hodak. Our executive producer is Mike Farah. Our consulting producer is Andrew Steele. Our coordinating producer is Colin McDougall. Our associate producers are Anna Hosnier and Sophie Lichterman. Our writer is Jake Fogelnest. Our production coordinator is Hannah Jacobson. The This episode was engineered, mixed, and edited by Nick Stumpf. Until next time, this is Ron Burgundy.